This is THV 11 News at 6.
Dangerous cold returns to Arkansas tonight. Wind chills will plunge below zero late tonight and for the start of your Saturday. Let you know how long this brutal cold snap will be sticking around.
And those cold temperatures means snow and ice may stick around through the end of the weekend. What it means for your kids' chances to return to school come Monday.
We need to get politicians in office that are going to support a reasonable immigration policy for this country.
Plus, protests taking place here in Little Rock and across the country against recent ICE activity. Hear from some of those involved and the impact it's having on Capitol Hill with a potential shutdown looming once again. But first, we start with the weather as the snow has started to melt, and with cold temperatures ahead this weekend, that winter weather may stick around and make things dangerous on the roads. That's the reason we're under a weather impact alert through the end of the weekend. Thanks for joining us tonight at 6. I'm Brooke Buckner here with meteorologist Nathan Scott. It's going to get cold again. We see this trend. You know, it thaws and then it refreezes.
Yeah.
And then it thaws again and refreezes. What's it looking like this weekend?
We've got another surge of Arctic air moving in tonight, Brooke, and that's going to set up for a very cold start to the weekend. And also, we've got a few flurries showing up here on radar. Now, these are just flurries. They're not going to accumulate. Maybe a sporadic dusting if you do get under one of those heavier showers. But there you see it, Newton County, Madison County. So we may see a brief flurry here in central Arkansas this evening. Right now, the temperature 35 degrees, the wind chill 29. But look what's happening in Harrison. It's 24 and the wind chill is at 14. That's the type of air headed in our direction for this evening. Temperatures by 8, 9 o'clock will likely be below freezing, so black ice will be forming, and that's why we had that weather impact alert out there all the way through Sunday, and your numbers will continue to plunge down into the low to mid-teens to begin your Saturday, maybe even some single digits for Clinton, also Fort Smith, but it's going to feel even colder than that because those wind chills will be below zero to begin the day. That weather impact alert goes all the way through Sunday because there's still some hazardous travel across parts of the region and the danger of black ice will remain in place. But big changes are on the way next week. I'll let you know what those changes are coming up.
All right, thanks, Nathan. The potential of winter weather sticking around means schools across the state have a big decision coming up for Monday, but how do they make it? As THV 11's Carter Thweet tells us, there are several factors a school district considers when winter weather arrives.
At Sylvan Hills Junior High, Pulaski County Special School District crews are hard at work, preparing for whenever students return. Frederica Sharkey is the district's director of communications.
We're a very large district, so we have a lot to consider in terms of whether or not to move forward with openings and closings.
Sharkey says they gather information from many sources, including staff who live in various parts of the county. That also includes people like Curtis Johnson, executive director of operations, who consistently drives the streets to check the conditions.
The biggest thing for us is making sure that we do what's best for faculty, staff, and students, and to keep them safe.
But Johnson doesn't just stay busy on the roads, but also on the campuses. The work being done at Sylvan Hills mirrors the work being done across the district.
The maintenance team and plant planning crew have been operating since Tuesday just to get us to a point to where we can get some pathways clear. And so we'll be working through this weekend, trying to make sure that we're ready for Monday morning.
That's in case students return, but will they?
I would love to see us all return on Monday, but we have to do so in a safe and efficient manner. And if the weather does not allow us to, then I'm sure we'll make a call on Sunday.
And my last question, how will it affect scheduling? Sharkey tells me they've prepared for this.
We have 12 days built into our calendar, so for now, I don't want to say that we're comfortable because we're never comfortable when our kids are not in school. But we definitely planned ahead in terms of Arkansas weather.
In Pulaski County, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
Thank you, Carter. We also reached out to other districts to ask about their plans. Bryant schools tell us they have 5 days built into the calendar, which they've now used. Any more cancellations will add an extra day to the end of the school year. As those decisions come in through the weekend, make sure to stay tuned in to THV 11. You can also text the word closing to 501-376-1111, and we'll send a link to your phone that has all the updates from our digital team in real time. A bipartisan spending deal to avert a partial government shutdown at midnight is on thin ice, with the standoff over Homeland Security funding holding things up. Senate Democrats reached an agreement with President Trump Thursday to separate DHS funding from the rest of the spending measures and fund the agency for 2 weeks. They threatened to vote against the package after federal immigration agents killed 2 people in Minneapolis. The compromise hit a snag when Republican Lindsey Graham refused to move ahead with a vote.
The clock is ticking, the nation is waiting, and the abuses of ICE must come to an end.
Hold the people accountable in ICE who may have broken the law, but stand up for those in the field trying to protect America.
The 2-week extension for the Department of Homeland Security was put into work on new rules for federal agents involved in ICE operations. Even if the measure does clear the Senate before midnight, the House will still need to vote on it. Protests over the recent ICE incidents took place all across the nation today. Here is a few of those. Organizers called for people to stay home from work and school and even stop shopping. According to estimates released by the Congressional Budget Office this week, the Trump administration's deployment of troops to 6 different U.S. cities last year cost roughly $496 million through the end of December. The protests even happening here in central Arkansas, but as winter storms shut down businesses for days, changing how that looks locally. THV 11's Tanya Motorzitsky hears from a local small business on how they're participating.
For some local businesses, participating in the national economic blackout protest does not mean closing their doors. It means opening them differently.
My mom's an immigrant, and so I've connected with the matter on a personal standpoint.
At Bark Bar, a doggy daycare and bar, staff say reopening after days of ICE closures was necessary, but they also wanted to be a safe space and are not expecting purchases, just presents.
We do have a lot of different communities that come here, and we just want everyone to know that they're welcome, along with their furry friends or without their furry friends.
Malia Perry and CC Conger Porty says Bark Bar became their safe space, and they want to be able to do the same for others.
I know a lot of local businesses are struggling to have their regulars come in and bringing in their community with the weather, with the protests. Some people that are regulars here are scared to be out and about. So this Bark Bar is where I found my community.
On the other side of downtown by the airport, outside of the Little Rock ICE facility, protests happen daily.
We've been here every day since November 4th.
Elder Matthew Bryant is encouraging people to avoid big box stores and instead shop locally.
Small businesses that have suffered this past week because of the weather. So we'd like people to do any shopping today. Please do it at local and small business.
He says their message continues to be loud and clear, even after the national protest.
ICE and this administration are violating the civil rights of people who live in this country, whether they're citizens or not.
In Little Rock, Tanya Motorzitsky, THV 11 News.
Tanya, thank you. Small businesses that are participating are posting to social media about whether they're open or closed and what they're doing differently today. We've been covering a project in Franklin County which would put up a new state prison on an 815-acre site, land the state previously purchased to develop. State officials have said the new facility is part of a broader plan to address overcrowding and the backlog of state inmates being held in county jails. But today, Senator King argued the state's numbers aren't adding up, calling the project a scam and claiming early cost estimates were never realistic. We'll have more on that tonight at 10. 2026 is another election year where Arkansas voters will cast their ballots in a number of important races. And if you want to make sure you're registered, you want to do that before it's too late. To vote in the primary election, you will need to register by Monday. Early voting then begins 2 weeks later. Voting day will be held on March 3rd, with any potential runoffs on March 31st. Now, when it comes to election day, you will need to register to vote by Monday, October 5th. Early voting for this also starts 2 weeks later, with election day on November 3rd. Starting Sunday, if you don't have a real ID or a passport, it will cost you extra to get on a plane. And right now, it's something about 150,000 people do each day. It's a $45 fee that allows you to use an alternative identity verification system. That ID will last for a 10-day travel period. And according to one TSA executive, it is worth the cost, with nearly 6% of flyers not having a compliant ID.
We want to make sure that the system is modernized. We want to make sure that we're covering down on the latest technology. We're also ensuring that in this situation, this cost is not bared by the taxpayers. This cost is bared by the individual that doesn't have a real ID-compliant driver's license.
For folks who are paying this fee, TSA recommends allotting 15 to 30 minutes to get through security and more if you're going to do it at the airport on the spot. Meanwhile, the Arkansas Department of Finance and Administration is waiving late fees for vehicle registrations that expired this week due to weather-related closures. The waiver applies to any registration renewed by Friday, February 6th. Several revenue offices will extend hours next week to help with increased demand, and DFA employees will work through the weekend to clear online backlogs. Coming up after the break, we're showing you how grocery stores here in Arkansas have been left nearly empty after this week's winter storm.
And the scenario of freeze-thaw, that's going to continue all the way into early next week as a black ice forecast. You can expect it, but then next week it really drops off, and that's because the temperatures will be going up. But you know how warm it's going to get coming up.